I'm doing this, blah, 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 and I hate doing this. I love doing this. I'd be lying to you guys if I didn't say I didn't love doing this. I left a job that I truly loved to do this, right? Because I shouldn't be admitting this, but saving children, right? That was great, but saving you guys is better.
Yeah, man, this is tough, bro, because we put our lives into this, you know?
Welcome to the CBC Podcast. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being here once again to the home of entrepreneurship, modern dating, interpersonal relationships, current events, sports, cryptocurrency, and much more. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Thank you. We picked up a couple subs since the last video. Appreciate that. Like and subscribe to the channel when you get a moment. It helps us out. A small channel like us, all those clicks help. You might think your click doesn't mean nothing. It means a lot. So click on that button for us. We appreciate it. Help us grow. Help us continue to bring the content to you. Let's get into this. What are we getting into today? So Amina's back today. Amina's in her Red Riding Hood get up here today. And why are we here today? So today we're talking about, now you saw the clip in the beginning. This is a viral story. Some of you may not know, that was Myron from Fresh and Fit, him and Walter. They had a super popular YouTube channel that focused on kind of the red pill space, kind of the manosphere space. They did a lot of other things too. They had several channels. They had kind of a fitness channel. They had kind of a monetary money management channel. I've watched a couple of videos there. I discovered their channel, their main channel, the Fresh and Fit podcast channel. I discovered it in like early 2021. I think it was like March of 2021. When I found them, they had, I think, like 48,000 subscribers or somewhere in that neighborhood, and they eventually blew up to having millions of subscribers. The channel just went absolutely crazy during the lockdowns, the pandemic, because, hey, that was the time of the YouTube birth, right? I mean, if you were in there in 2018, 2019, 2020, and you had a channel rolling, it probably was going to blow up around that time because we're all locked in our homes for no reason. So they were like, okay, let's, people needed something to do. So they went onto YouTube and,
YouTube, TikTok
Instagram. Blew up around that time. Instagram, Facebook's always been out there. So people I think people realize that, I can get all my entertainment online.
Yeah.
I don't have to turn on the stupid TV, which I keep telling y'all to turn off. But with that being said, so why are we talking about Fresh and Fit? Well, because the title of today's show is The Pride Before the Fall. How narcissism breeds your downfall, or how it could breed your downfall.
Yeah.
So we've talked about narcissism in the past. It's one of Amina's favorite topics. Amina, like every time we start talking about, let's do a show on narcissism, Amina jumps off the page when that happens.
I recognize them from a mile away.
And you've had experience lately with people you've spoken to who have very similar experiences, and you've been able to resonate with them, right?
Well, every narcissist recognizes, everyone that's had narcissistic abuse recognizes each other. They understand each other.
Almost immediately, right?
Yes.
You start talking and then you're like, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yes. So you've had some conversations recently, you told me.
I know a narcissist from a mile away, and I knew that this story, this show was narcissism all the way.
You watched some of them.
Yeah, and I referenced them in a couple of the past podcasts that we've done. I didn't say their names, but you can tell that I'm talking about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what Amina does do is when I send her stuff to watch, she does watch it because it helps us to prepare for the show. And she'll tell me sometimes like, these guys are narcissistic. It's like you talk about Greg Adams is one of the ones that you take, which we'll talk about Greg on the show as well today.
Immediately.
Because
he struck me as narcissistic. Greg Adams, Andrew Tate, and Fresh and Fit. But they're narcissistic guys that I think the internet started finding toxic. So You get what you give, I think. Is that
so
what happens after a while?
So let's rewind briefly. Let's go back to Fresh and Fit. Their channel, I believe it was 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago now, their channel was demonetized. What does that mean in YouTube terms? It basically means that your production, which we're doing here today, you're not allowed to make money from that production. So they're able to put videos out. They're just not able to monetize them. So if people wanted to, like, YouTube won't run ads on their feeds and on their live streams. They won't run ads because they're not going to get paid for them. And then they can't what we call super chats, is when people can basically log into your stream and then just donate money to help you, hey man, for the production costs or whatever. People send you $5, $10. You have an audience come in and people generate super chats and send them to you through Cash App, Zelle, whatever the case may be. Well, what YouTube has done to Fresh and Fit is they've said you guys cannot earn money anymore on our platform, which is a big deal. Why? Because number one, YouTube was making a lot of money off of these guys specifically.
How many followers did they have?
So they have, I believe it was 1.48 million, so almost 1.5, which we've talked about before. Like your mainstream channels, like CNN has like 550,000, right? Mm-hmm. So these two guys, they live in Miami, down in Brickell, working out of their studio apartment, have what, 3 times the following of CNN? So it's crazy because they went from kind of it's maybe not rags to riches, but they went from being kind of just lowly YouTubers like us to an audience of 1.5 million, right?
Which generates how much money?
How much money? Great question. So at their peak, they were generating between 20 to 30 million views per month. What does that equate to in dollars? About $250,000 to $300,000 a month. It's
crazy. And you're talking numbers that people that go to work every single day, when you tell them that, they think you're lying.
Yeah.
They think you're making it up. There's no way. Mm-hmm. That sounds ridiculous.
Notice I said month, not year. See, because we know oral surgeons who make $300,000. These guys make that in a month. Yeah. So it seems crazy, but when you understand how big the internet is and all the opportunities that exist and all the eyeballs, I mean, we just said 20 to 30 million views, right? I mean, that's a lot of eyeballs on your content. So if you're running AdSense or something like that, if you're making a couple pennies a click, it adds up fast, right? Now with them specifically, I believe the rumor has it between 90 and 95% of their money was from super chats. People, like their fans logging in, like say me and Amina right now are doing a live stream. We could, you guys could jump into our live stream and say, hey man, here's 10, here's 20, here's 50, here's 100. We love your show. Here's $100, right? They did live streams. I believe they did them every week. I don't think it was every day, but I think they did at least 2 or 3 a week. They did a late night show, which was their big revenue generator, where they would bring in girls that would sit around the table and they would, interview the girls. And, basically it would be, if you look at it as entertainment, like I get it for what it was, but they turned a lot of people off. They rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And they got to a point, if you notice, like there was a point in time where their content became more and more edgy. And I think what happens there with a lot of YouTubers is that when you start seeing your numbers go down a little bit, you start thinking, man, what am I doing wrong? Let me ratchet it up. Let me get a little bit more controversial.
I call it the Jerry Springer effect, the Maury Povich syndrome or something. Like you have to keep one-upping your show, even if you're kind of beating a dead horse. Because it's the Jerry Springer and Maury had the same show every time.
Same people.
It was just how many people could fall on the floor the hardest and run all over the crowd when they were called the father or something like that. Like you got to one up it. So yeah, I think, and then coupled with the narcissism and the money, you get a big head and you just kind of, maybe you lose control of yourself and you get what you give. If you start becoming a bully on social media and trying to get other people's pages taken down or channels taken down. I don't know. You get what you give. I don't know. Be careful.
So for those of you who don't know, if you're looking at the screen right now, that's Fresh and Fit right there. So that's Fresh and Fit. On the left is Myron. On the right is Walter, who's also known as Fresh Prince CEO. Myron is the fit one, and Myron is Fresh. So those are the two guys we're talking about. They live right down in Miami, as we said. They are, like I said, very popular guys. Buddy of mine lives in Brickell. He says he sees them all the time walking around. They got very popular, kind of very fast.
Very fast. This is kind of an unbelievable story. I mean, it's kind of huge because it was so quick. It is kind of a rags to riches. They made money really fast, subscribers really fast. They were very popular. And then boom, when your page is taken down, when you're demonetized, when something just boom, just like that, and it's gone and there's nothing you can do.
Well, you saw in the clip.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think you felt this pain a little bit, right?
I've experienced it to a lesser degree when my daughter's Instagram page, just like that, just boom, they just took it from me. It took me weeks to get it back. I got it back. Thank you, God. But when it happened, I felt like they took my child from me. Like it was
her?
Yes. So they took his baby.
Because you're thinking like you put so much work into it, right? Mm-hmm. So some people would say it's just social media, Amita.
And they said that to me, and I said, no, it's my work.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I empathize with them from that perspective because we know as YouTubers this is not easy. And people who, first of all, just putting yourself out here in front of the world takes a lot of guts. There's a lot of people who would never do this in a million years. So, and then when you understand the work that it takes, not just, the content and preparing for the show and all of those things, but being able to try to entertain people at the same time, right? It's not easy. It's a lot. Maybe it's easier. People think it's easy or I could do it. If you could, you'd be doing it. So when you actually are doing it and you're behind the camera and you understand the work that goes into it, you can empathize with people who put in the same. Obviously, they put in more work. I mean, these guys are full time at it.
Well, anybody can do it once or twice, but to do it every day, day in and day out, it becomes your labor of love. It's your baby. It's your passion. It's what fuels you, what drives you every single day. And I mean, I kind of feel sorry for them in that degree, but how it came about.
Let's talk about how it came about. So the title of the show, we're talking about narcissism and hubris and how these things can drive your downfall. So what I saw with them from personal experience is I followed their channel for a while. I used to watch them, not daily, but I would watch them probably twice a week. I'd see an episode here, episode there that had something interesting in it. And they do put out some good information, but over time, what I saw was happening is that they got more and more kind of edgy in terms of they were pushing the envelope and this kind of skits they were doing. I mean, you can look it up online and see kind of the things that led to them getting demonetized. I mean, one guy shows up on there with a KKK hood on his head, and they're walking around acting like monkeys, and they're making fun of people and stuff like that. You can start to push the envelope so far to where your hubris, because guess what? When you do those episodes, those are the ones that get the most views, right? So those are the ones that bring in the most money. Yeah. So what happens is us as Americans, right? Whatever reason, we love to see train wrecks, right? Like we rather than sit there and listen to something that's going to give us good information about something, we will watch some BS that's entertaining, right? Like, I mean, my God, Kim Kardashian's one of the most popular people on the planet for whatever reason. I've never been able to figure it out for the life of me. I swear to God. I swear to God, you could go back to 2003, 4, 5. People were talking about her. I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it. I swear to God. Like people used to look at me, you're the only one that doesn't like her. Like, I don't get it. I've never gotten it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it doesn't matter. No. Because she's been collecting money forever off of a sex tape. So it is what it is, guys. This is us. This is society. This is what we do. These are the people who we prop up. These are the people who we give a platform to, right? So we can't be mad at the people who have figured out a way to exploit us, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to get mad at them because I'm like, hey, they figured out how stupid folks are. People like to follow this or that or whatever. It is what it is. I'm not, you know, I mean, remember I told you about the streamer, Corey Kenshin or whatever his name was, the kid that has like 80 million subscribers on YouTube. I watched the video. I don't get it. He's playing video games and he's yelling at the screen. I don't get it. but it doesn't matter if I don't get it, because at the end of the day, it's what people tune into. 81 people would disagree with me. That's the way I see it, right? So going back to Fresh and Fit, and then we're going to talk about Andrew Tate. When that it's kind of like the negative reinforcements, like the more negative you get, the more views it does.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you keep pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
Right? Because you, oh man, this one doing viral and that one went viral. And then I don't think you're even hearing yourself anymore. Right? Because now you're wrapped up in the moment.
And you begin to think that you're invincible, and you start going, what the problem with them is they started going after people, and they started going after people for doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
So, but they had to up the ante on top of serving people with papers from attorneys and things like that. And then in the meanwhile, they went too far with their production, and it just got ugly.
They tried the bullying technique so they have a bigger channel. So the smaller channels that were kind of like against them and the messaging that they were pushing, they started issuing copyright infringements against those sites, because those sites, those channels would use their clips, which you can all do as long as you say fair use. It's on YouTube, right? It's public. But you just have to say, hey, this is fair use, boom, boom, boom. And you present, the material. I think there are timing mechanisms.
So this is like the YouTube, wars that go on in the background that people don't know about.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that goes on. There's a lot that goes on. Like if I use someone's clip here, right? Like if it's I forgot what the duration is, but if you use a certain duration of somebody else's work, like you have to declare that, right? And say, hey, this is because you could essentially profit from their work.
Well, it's plagiarism. In a sense, right?
So what they were doing was the people who would use their clips against them and say, listen to this messaging, this is horrible. They would then go after that smaller channel and try to get that channel shut down. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, I don't feel sorry for you guys, because what happened to you was the same thing you were trying to do to them. Right.
Right.
But in your hubris, you thought, hey, we're making so much money, and we're making so much money for YouTube. Because if they're making 200,
we can do whatever we want. If
they're making $300K a month, which is estimated what they were making, YouTube was making more than that, because YouTube's taking a higher cut, right?
Of course.
But YouTube is looking at it like it's not worth the negative press that you're bringing to us, right? Because what it looks like to the media, like every time a negative article comes out about something that they talked about, YouTubers so and so, Fresh and Fit did this. Yeah. Right? It's bad press. So eventually YouTube says, you know what, guys, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. We got to cut you loose.
Plus, I think there's a bunch of attorneys and a whole bunch of drama. At the end of the day, it's drama fueled by a bunch of guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So while we're on topic of hubris and narcissism, let's pivot to a man who everyone knows.
It's also been demonetized.
And deplatformed and everything else. So,
who rose and fell very quickly.
You should be seeing on the screen. This is Andrew Tate. Now, everybody by this time knows who Andrew Tate is. Andrew Tate is a very flamboyant gentleman. Got tons of charisma. This man. I think I sent you his. When I first saw his interview. He did an interview from his house down in Miami, and he resonated with me right away because the dude was smart as heck, right? He was saying all the things that I was keying in on. Like, man, from a masculinity standpoint, I agree with almost everything he says. Like, he's very in tune with what it means to be a masculine man. He's also believe it or not, he's a classic man. See that? Believe it or not, see, people think because you're flamboyant and this and that. Trust me, women that will be with him on a dating scenario, he treats very, very well. Right? Don't believe these dudes. Like a lot of like guys will think that he talks to them any kind of way. No, they don't. They have women. The women they're interested in, they treat them a different kind of way. Okay, so he's traditional.
He resonated with me on his views of the vaccine. So every time he opened his mouth about that and subjects of the like, I was like, this guy makes sense. Like.
Makes a lot of sense.
Finally, they're letting somebody talk about this in a way that I agree with. And
the way he delivered the information, the way he articulated it, he's a handsome guy. A lot of women, like him anyway. He's half black guy like me. I'm partial to half black people, by the way. So. With speaking of like we haven't seen him in a while, right? Like he's been off the grid.
He's in jail.
If I think he's out on house arrest right now in Romania. So him and his brother. Quick rundown of the Tates. So they shot to stardom. I mean, probably the fastest that I've ever seen before. Like it was unbelievable. It was like no one knew who he was one day. The next day, boom, right?
He's everywhere.
He was everywhere, right? He shot to stardom through mainly his social media because his messaging, masculinity, and we've got a femininity crisis in the United States, and he's right about all that stuff. Like if you listen to him talk about the femininity crisis, masculinity crisis, men are sitting around eating marshmallows and playing video games. A lot of men are doing that. A lot of them are. They're sitting. I always say that's what I say to the guy that's doing that. You know what I'm saying? He's got on tidy whities and he's walking around the house with a bag of marshmallows, and that's what I mean when I say that. When I do that, but he was kind of he's anti that and pro masculine, right? Like men who stand up and want to protect their women and take care of the woman and be the man. And hey, he always says, hey, if the woman's with me, she's got nothing to worry about. Like he always says, she's got nothing to worry about. The woman, nothing to worry about. I said that in the show. I said that before I even knew who he was. I told y'all that in one of the first videos. I said, if a woman's with me and she's my woman, she don't have nothing to worry about. Like, that's just how I roll. Now, I know a lot of people out there, see, he's simping, see? What that means, and there's ladies out there like, no, see, that's exactly what we want.
That's exactly what we want.
But because don't listen to the feminists, see, they're lying to you because there's no man who's ever wanted to do that for them. So they're very upset about that. So when you have a woman who you want to do that for, they're mad at you and her. They're real mad at that. They're like, why does he want to do that? So most women out there, most of y'all women, 99% of y'all know it's true. But you're going to sit there and put on a brave face anyway, aren't you? You're going to sit there anyway. I don't want no man to do nothing for me. Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
You really want him to do it. Yeah, I know they're teaching you. I know the liberal media and all this stuff is telling you that, oh, my God, don't let a man do nothing for you. He's over top of you. He's domineering. He's taking control. He can do everything you can't do.
There's not enough of those guys around. So that's why that message that he was delivering, I was kind of grateful for, because they're creating soft men with the programming that the media, the mainstream, the government is pumping out, telling you it's okay to put on a skirt, or whatever it is. We needed somebody to tell the guys to be strong, to take care of your woman, to be masculine, to be classic, to open the door, to pay for things, they need to teach somebody. Somebody needs to teach them. They needed a teacher, and he seemed like the teacher at the time.
However, here's where we have to go into the negative aspects of Mr. Tate, which, by the way, me and Amina only got to the bottom of this about 2 weeks ago when we watched the documentary. I will plug it in another show. I won't plug it now because you got to watch all 3 parts. Part 3, I think, is coming out soon. Yeah, there's a third part. We haven't finished third part. And this thing it's factual too. That's the thing, because what they did, and we're talking about hubris, right? We're talking about the pride before the fall. He incriminated himself entirely. Like the case that they built against him is his own words. Like they're not making nothing up.
They don't have to. It's all, and that's the thing with it. Social media, being a narcissist, being on camera, being in the mirror, having a phone in your face all the time and constantly talking and make sure the story that you're telling is the same story that you're telling all the time.
He got so full of himself that he would be doing interviews, and it might be an interview with somebody in Romania or somebody in Bahamas or something, right? Everything's being recorded.
They recorded him.
So what he started to tell was that the way that he started making most of his money in the beginning was by basically taking advantage of underage girls. This is actually on video. I mean, of his own words. Like, this is not me accusing him. Like, this is him talking about how he would get girls because in Romania, the age of consent is 16. So you can use that as a way to say, well, it's legal.
And you can rope in younger, more naive, less suspecting women and teach them and mold them and shape them younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easier.
So here's what I say about the whole age of consent thing. Listen, if it's 16, 15, whatever it is, me personally, I would never use that as a grounds to take advantage of a child. Or grounds just to make money off the backbone of somebody that happens to be a child. Yeah. Let's be honest. If the girl's 16, she can't consent to anything. She's a child. She doesn't know. She has no idea. Right? I mean, come on. I mean, we talk about it all the time on the show here. When I say if you're under 25, I give you a lot of wiggle room because I know how dumb we all are on 25. 16?
Yeah.
Like,
you. And here comes this big, tall, cool looking guy that, he dressed the part. He talked the talk and walked the walk. And if you're 16 and 17 years old, I mean.
And he would use, the lover boy method is what they're kind of, what's in the charges is that what he would do is he would seduce these women, get them to fall in love with him. So where they would basically do anything for him. So he would have them go on the camera and perform. He was kind of doing OnlyFans before OnlyFans.
Yeah. And he was in control of the whole time. So they always needed him. His whole thing was narcissism from the start. Because he believed that he could wrangle up his girlfriends to get his girlfriends to start for him. And he got 2 out of the 4. Mm-hmm. So that's narcissism right there. Yeah. And then to start homes with people, women, all in these different homes. I mean, you have to have a grandiose head to start something like this. And then from there, jump onto the social media platform and start really spreading your truth, That was
once he had the money, he could now invest in his platforms, and then he could get his message out.
People will listen to you because you have money, and that's the thing. He knew that. He kept saying, "Who am I? Who is this guy that's got all this money? I've done all these things. I've done all these things already." At this age, and it was all true. It was all true.
It was true. Well, yeah.
Narcissism from jump, and then you always see him standing in the mirror. Always standing in the mirror. They had how many platforms? How many social media platforms? They're countless.
Yeah, empire. They're literally an empire. I mean, they got website after website. I mean, they've got all.
How many Twitter accounts? Countless Twitter accounts. Countless. Bunch. They're funneling money.
And their main page, what would happen is their main landing page where they want you to land. Most of their social media stuff with different URLs would all redirect eventually back to that page. Like they wanted to get everybody there. Smart guys, man, super smart.
Yeah,
but
everything funnels back into the same big pot that they have. Their last hurrah is join our what is it, our world, our matrix world for $8,000.
Yeah, they have a whole experience that you can buy into, right? Yeah. that they've created. So
and you've been following Andrew all this time. You've done this. You followed him here. You followed him there on all of his pages. You've exhausted all the Andrew you can. Now, here's the ultimate Andrew experience. It's $8,000. From
a marketing standpoint, the guys were brilliant. They did, but it wasn't until I started reading about like how they started, right? How they got their initial windfall to start this stuff. When I saw that they basically take advantage of the younger girls, I did stop. And full disclosure, you know, I have 2 daughters. I'm very partial to, you know, female kids. You know what I mean? I have 2 of them. So I always think about, what if it was my daughter, right? Here's my 16-year-old. What does she know? She's 16. What does she know? Nothing.
It's just a year and a half from now.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
They know nothing.
Yeah.
And then you tell them, because you're in Romania, a lot of those families are poor. They tell them, come work with me, even though he was taking like 90% of their money. Because he was the dude the guy that, remember he talked about, he had one wealthy client that fell in love with one of the girls. Like the guy just was like, this is the girl I want. I'm head over heels for her. So every night he's logging into the page to talk to her. He was never talking to her. He was talking to him. Yeah. He was in the back with the laptop. He would just tell her before the show, like what to say to keep him on the hook. And then he would be in the back, like he's typing up, is popping up on the screen for her to say to him, right?
No. She had a fake keyboard. He made it look like she was typing and he was typing in the background. Yeah. He controlled everything. So they needed him, kind of thing. He created that. That's the pimp experience. You need the pimp.
Which he admits he's a pimp. I mean, he basically says that. So they, in a nutshell, they took all of his, once they saw how grandiose he was, they just let him talk. That's all they did. They just let him talk. And they were like, we're going to record everything. They'll let you do that. See, that's the thing. They will let you incriminate. It's very smart of the authorities. Because once they saw that he was grandiose, they said, oh, he's going to tell on himself.
Oh, they already knew that. They already knew that.
So it's wild. You could read about him, pull it up, take a look. I told Amina, I don't think they're going to get away with this. Like, we watched everything. We've looked at all and we like the guy. Like, I
liked him, honestly, and people didn't understand why I liked him as a woman.
Most women,
I know they didn't understand, but I liked him. I resonated with how he delivered his message. I resonated with a lot of things that he said. I'm awake in that way. And he was waking a lot of people up with some of the things that he said. Now it's really unfortunate and disheartening that he did it off the backs of very, very young women.
And he even talked about why he picked Romania.
Yeah.
Like he planned all this stuff out.
He tells you why he's over there and why he loves Romania and why he's there, because they're lax in their law.
And he talked about how it's easily, he talked about how corrupt, it's very corrupt. It's corrupt. He talks about how you can just move money around. So if the cops would start investigating you, you just pay them some money, they leave you alone.
Yeah.
Right? So he talked about why he's like, yeah, I know it's one of the most corrupt nations in Europe. I picked it for that reason. Right? So they're listening to all this and they're like, is that why you picked us, huh? All righty. Yeah. So now I don't think those Romanian authorities are going to let him go. I really don't think so. I think he's on house arrest now, but I really don't think that with what I've seen, I could be wrong. I'm not wishing his downfall or nothing like that. But I'm just looking at the body of evidence of what they have. I don't think he's going to walk from this. I could be wrong. Could be wrong.
Well, lots of YouTube entertainment happening these days. Social media, lots of social media entertainment in general. I mean,
it's more entertaining than Hollywood.
There's not a day goes by.
More entertaining than that.
Not a day goes by that somebody didn't kill their boyfriend or mother or stole from somebody or getting demonetized. There's more news in social media than that's interesting or captivating, even though you don't know who they are. You might not even know who some of these people are. Then hearing about boring ass, judgmental ass Hollywood. Like, I think everybody's just kind of, I'll speak for myself. I'm just really bored with Hollywood, and they're so fake.
Rachel Ziegler, anyone? That we'll talk about her on another show. She's lost, poor kid. She's a kid though. I don't want to hold too much against the kid. She doesn't know any
We'll
better.
try not to add because she's already getting.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, we're bumping up against the time, but I'm going to mention one more gentleman that Amina wanted to talk about. So how many of you know about Coach Greg Adams? So Coach Greg Adams, I think I've plugged his book on the show multiple times. I've read both of his books.
You gave me his book.
Gave you his book?
Mm-hmm.
I think the guy is a very smart man. He's a high IQ guy. I can just tell. I've read his stuff.
He went through a lot to get to
he went through a lot, had to live in his car, and now he's a multi-million-dollar YouTuber.
He lets you know it in his intro.
Yeah, 5-minute intro.
5-minute intro.
Here, the issue with Greg, who I watched daily for about a year, like his feed, he shows up on my feed now, and I watch Greg every now and again. I don't watch him as much as I used to because, to be quite honest, the messaging gets a little stale. Like I've always told you, if I wanted this channel to be a channel where I just simply come on here and bash women, I could do that every day. I could find an article or an antidote or something somewhere of a woman doing something stupid, right? And I could bring it here and I could sit here and I could tell all of you how dumb all these women are.
Yeah.
I could do that. For what? That's the question that I have at the end of the day.
Well, at this point, there's enough channels that have done that, doing that, done that.
Yeah.
So for you to jump on that bandwagon now just makes you look, stupid.
Look, and listen, again, I like Greg, but Greg, if you go to Coach Greg Adams' main page on YouTube, that you can see the narcissism. It's his car. He's
also been demonetized, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, his channel got demonetized a long time ago.
Unfortunately for him.
Yeah, but he again, has a lot of good content, and he does have he has a money mindset program and things like that you can get into. But his bread and butter is a Coach Greg Adams channel where he does his specialty is live streams. I think he's remonetized now because I think he's remonetized.
How do you do that?
I think you can. I think you can. There's some avenues.
Are you sure?
I think so. I think you can go into.
Then all is not lost for Fresh and Fit.
No, I think. Well, remember, Myron did say they're working with YouTube to see if they can, hey, what did we do wrong? Can we get another chance? You know what I mean? They may tell him how to clean it up. So I don't know, but I think you can come back.
Let's look into that.
I think you can. Okay. I think because Greg Adams does take super chats.
He does take super chats.
So because he's always talking about super chats. So again, he's a guy who I've seen go from probably 100,000 subs to well over 500,000 now. Again, with that comes more money, comes more notoriety, comes more just you become somebody that he talks about now going out now and being recognized, right?
Mm-hmm.
So. That's got to be intoxicating to a degree.
Especially after living in your car.
Absolutely. Going through a bad divorce, living, he calls it being divorce graped, living in his car. His wife took him to the cleaners and all of those things. And now he's a success story with, hundreds of thousands of people that tune in to hear his voice every day. It's got to be somewhat intoxicating.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to find balance in that, or else what can happen is you can get so far into your own hubris that you start thinking you're bulletproof, you're invincible, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of that in Greg's delivery, where his delivery didn't used to be as condescending as it is. If you listen to some of his stuff now, it's like he's constantly talking to you like you're dumb. That's my biggest issue with him. I hear what you're saying, Greg, and I like you, but your delivery had started becoming too much like a finger wag, right? Like I've made it, you haven't.
I know what I'm talking about.
I know what I'm talking about. Y'all dudes are dumb, you know, and it just gets to the point where it's like, listen, bro, I'm not going to tune in every day to hear you talk about me, dude. You know what I mean? I know I'm not driving a Porsche yet. I know I'm not, you know, the main man yet. But do you got to keep reminding me, man? Like, you know, so you know what I'm saying? So it gets so for a guy, like, remember I was telling you, like, it was a female who put it in perspective for me. I made a comment one time. I said, okay, and I've come clean on this with you guys. Not tooting my own horn. I'm not Casanova, but I have an easier time with ladies than some other guys, right? Like, cause I'm 6'3", some guys are 5'3", right? You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Like, remember I told you I didn't realize how big the height thing was, right? Until, like, I didn't really know, right? Until I started getting like attention just for being tall, right? So I had a girl tell me one time, she said, what if you weren't 6'3"? And she just looked at me and I was like, what do you mean? She's like, what if you weren't 6'3" and good looking? Now what? And I was like, like, it didn't really compute to me because I'm like, but I'm 6'3" and I don't call myself good looking necessarily, but she was calling me that. So she's like, what if you were 5'3" and average? There's a lot of guys like that, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of guys who are 5'3", 5'4", 5'5" that are just average dudes, man. And they really don't want to hear about all of their shortcomings all the time. All the time. Right?
I didn't tune into your show for you to make me feel worse.
Right. So it gets they're already getting it from society, right? Like women are all over the place talking about, I ain't dating no man shorter than me. So
they're getting it everywhere. If you're a short guy, it's not just women. It's
everybody.
Yeah.
It's everybody.
Unfortunately.
And I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know the depths of it because I've always been tall. Like, I was tall for my age when I was a kid, right? So I was tall. I never had that worry of like Napoleon complex. I was like, what? Like, what are y'all talking about? Like, it didn't make sense to me. Greg Adams is short. Mm-hmm. I say all that to say Greg is short. You think he's 5'6", 5'7". He's a short guy. You can tell if you watch a lot of his stuff, he was teased about his height a lot. You can tell. So now some of the hubris and the chest poking is to show I made it anyway. Y'all were laughing at me. I was too short. I was bald. I was this. I was that. Now I got women falling all over me. Mm-hmm. Height ain't that big of a deal, right? Mm-hmm. Because money is the great equalizer, right? Yes. So I get it when it comes to that. Like, especially if you were a shorter dude, and now you got women 6'2" hitting on you, right? So now you're like, what? I thought I was too short. I thought I was this. I thought I was that. So I get it, but you have to learn how to not allow that to seep into your personality and your delivery and how you speak to people, because you don't want to come off as somebody. You saw it with Fresh and Fit. You saw it with Myron. You saw how he spoke to folks.
It was terrible.
It was like, come on, dude. You don't have to be like that.
It was aggressive.
Yeah.
I thought it was aggressive. And I think that it was slightly toxic. And when you become toxic on social media, they're going to shut you down. They're shutting people down. Yeah. They took Trump off of social media. Wasn't he the first one?
One of them.
I mean, it's all the toxic dudes. So be careful, guys.
Well, dudes, we're under attack anyway. So come on, man. You got to, especially if you're a white dude. Remember I told you about white dudes already. Hey, white dudes, you got to be real on your P's and Q's now, because you can't do nothing. You're a white dude now, because everybody's looking at you.
It was him.
You're white, aren't you?
He did it.
European, huh? See, guys like me, we don't have to worry. They be like, "What? You're European? No, what are you?"
Wasn't him.
What the heck? Maybe it wasn't you. You could tell you black. We're probably up against time. We're gonna wrap it up. Like and subscribe to the channel. Click that button. Leave a like. Leave a comment. If you like the show, leave a comment. If you didn't like the show, leave a comment. Either way, it helps the algorithm, helps us grow and continue to bring more stuff to you on a weekly basis.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. We're out.